Got Peter Mirageas from the law offices of Peter M. Mirageas. Hey Peter, how are you?
Very good.
Welcome aboard.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, my practice is in the area of civil litigation. There's a concentration in construction litigation, business disputes, business litigation, and I practice throughout Massachusetts. I have several clients who have locations throughout the state, and my practice for the last 25 years has been throughout Massachusetts.
Excellent. Now, if two radio co-hosts wanted to sue each other, could you represent one of the parties or both?
I prefer one.
I didn't know that's what we were going to do. This is like a team building exercise. You take Peter, I'll take Mark Furman, and we'll see who's standing at the end.
You keep insulting me, Jeffrey. I got Peter in my court now. I'm just teasing. So Peter, you mentioned construction. That's an interesting industry these days. Is there anything going on?
Well, the public sector is, as you probably know, because of the money that's been infused from the federal government, has picked up over the last year or so. The private sector is still down. It's starting to make a slight rebound, and I imagine over the next several years it'll come back. But I think people are still hurting in that sector. You know, my practice has kind of evolved as a result of some of those issues. We've now broadened into things like landlord-tenant. We've also done collections, which has become a big part of construction because people aren't paying. Even when they have the money, they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the saying goes.
Right. So you represent trying to collect the money for contractors or whatever party you're representing?
Yes, a lot of times there's a legitimate construction dispute in regard to the materials, the quality, and there might be a delay. Sometimes it just gets down to cash flow. And this goes into represent the businesses that are outside of the construction industry too, that sometimes have these same problems now with accounts receivables and things like that.
It's, you know, when money's tight, everybody tries to stretch their payables.
Well, I'm wondering, with all the construction that's underwater, Peter, has there been a lot of litigation around bankruptcy, refinancing, problems with buildings?
Bankruptcy is probably, as you might guess, is up considerably, and I think one of the things that concerns not only new business owners, but existing business owners, is when their clients basically are either threatening bankruptcy, and many times it's the real thing, but a lot of times it's being used as a trump card. You know, I'm going to pay you when I want to pay you, I'm going to pay you how much I'm going to pay you,
right.
And if you don't like it, I'll file bankruptcy. And it's difficult, but you need to be able to weed out when someone's legit and someone's just playing that card.
Right. It's poker.
It is these days. And it's important to know what your rights are. It's important to know if you pursue the claim or if you pursue it, whether one, you're going to be compensated at the end, and just to what extent you're going to be compensated.
Right.
Peter, like a contractor, there's so many permits and laws and stuff. So, I mean, do you get involved right from the beginning of a project, or do you come in at the end when there's problems?
I prefer to come in at the beginning, and for some of my established clients, that's what happens. A lot of the ways that I'll get a new client is, obviously, I come in at the tail end of the project when it's starting to spin into a spiral and there's problems. And at that point in time, it's more of you try to fix what you can, but it's also a learning experience, sometimes a costly learning experience. One of the things that I like to try to show the client is that if we can make some changes, whether it be to their contracts or to the way that they deal with a project in the future, they're going to be better able to protect themselves if the situation arises again.
Yeah. A lot of people come in, they talk to us over the last year or so about the fee pressure in the marketplace with the economy changing. And you being in real estate, my guess would be that you've had a fair degree of fee pressure also. Have you had to adapt to that from a marketing sense in this economy?
As far as
how you market fees to your clients?
Attorney's fees?
Yes.
Yes, there's, that's a whole new area now in regard to marketing, trying to create different fee structures. I mean, that typically the attorneys would charge an hourly billable. Then I think for certain situations, contingent fees were pretty much the norm, and still are, for, say for example, a personal injury matter. But there's been, one of the things that I do, and not everyone does, but it's fairly, how can I put this? It's helpful to a client that doesn't have a lot of cash and is looking for an attorney that they know is invested in the outcome of the case. And that's a contingent fee or a split fee, where basically, as opposed to charging your usual hourly rate, you charge half of your hourly rate, as
Right.
opposed to getting maybe a third or whatever the sliding scale is for the contingent fee. You get half of that.
So you put
And-
a little skin in the game.
Right. In essence, the client knows you're invested in the outcome.
Right.
And also, it helps his cash flow, and as the attorney, it helps your cash flow in the sense that you know that if you take too many of these contingent fee cases on, you could be in the same position as the client, basically being out of business in a few months. So
It also forces you to do a little project management, make sure you're efficient as well.